Everyone is familiar with ancient Greek mythology to a greater or lesser extent. Today we are talking about something else. About the American artist Howard David Johnson, born 1954, who works in the field of historical, mythological and religious genres. He creates a world of folkloric and mythical characters, combining traditional style and working methods with modern digital techniques. As an example of his creativity, I suggest to consider the paintings depicting ancient Greek gods of the third generation. The beginning of the history of the ancient Greek gods of the third generation goes back to even more ancient times. Kronos, the youngest son of the first god Uranus, sky, and the goddess Gaia, earth, scraped his father and became the supreme god. It is said that he massacred his father out of pity for his mother, whom Uranus forced to constantly give birth. But Cronus himself turned out to be no better than his father. He received a prediction that one of his children, born to him by Rhea, would overthrow him. And each child was swallowed after birth. This continued until Rhea, madly pitying the children, deceived her husband by slipping him a stone wrapped in a blanket instead of her sixth child. So the last child of Cronus and Rhea survived, and when he grew up defeated his father and made the rest of his siblings spew out of themselves. This, of course, was Zeus. Zeus, who deservedly became the supreme god. In his painting, Johnson depicted Zeus with his main attributes: lightning bolts in his hand and his constant companion the eagle by his side. Zeus and his rescued siblings settled on Mount Olympus. Since then, they have been called the Olympic gods. The Cronides, so called from the children of Cronus, were spit out by their father in the following order. 1. Poseidon. The oceans were placed under his dominion. He was also known as the creator of the first horse, as well as being responsible for earthquakes, which were usually the result of his anger. He had many children, usually wild and violent like the sea. In his images, he is usually depicted as resembling Zeus, but with a less majestic calm. He is usually depicted with a trident made for him by the Cyclopes, with which he ruled the seas. He was usually worshipped by sailors. He married Amphitrite, the granddaughter of the Titan Oceanus. 2. Hades. Hades was the supreme god of death. The subterranean realm of the dead was at his command. Hades rarely left his domain, rising to Olympus in the most extreme cases. His name was feared to be spoken. Hades' wife was Persephone, for the abduction of whom Hades was not afraid to rise to earth. 3. Hera, the sister of Zeus, who became his wife. She had a severe beauty, and she was usually depicted crowned with a diadem and dressed in a long tunic with a veil. She had two main roles, the consort of Zeus and the goddess who governed marriage. Hera was said to be modest, the epitome of the ideal wife, but still stood out as the most physically beautiful of the Olympians. But very vindictive and jealous, who did much evil to Zeus' lovers. Her sacred symbols were peacocks with brilliant plumage and a lotus staff. 4. Demeter. Her name came from a primitive form of the word, Mother Earth. Demeter acted primarily as a goddess of fruits and wealth of fields. Usually depicted sitting and dressed in a long garment with a veil covering the back of her head. She supervised the harvest and all the agricultural work that went with it. Demeter is the mother of Persephone, who was abducted by Hades. And it was with her experiences that the ancient Greeks associated the change of seasons. 5. Hestia. Hestia is the eldest daughter of Cronus and Rhea. She was the first to be swallowed by Cronus. Accordingly, she came out of it last. In Greek mythology, the young goddess of the family hearth and sacrificial fire. Hestia took a vow of chastity and lived with her brother Zeus. No festival began without the offering of gifts to Hestia. She was also sacrificed before the beginning of any sacred action.